The 2023-2024 season is finally upon us, and already we have seen a ton of players breaking out. Honestly, more than I think that we have ever seen, or at least more than we have seen in a very long time. I wanted to highlight these players, so let's get into it. Real quick before I get into this video, if you end up enjoying it, please be sure to subscribe. Also drop a like. It only takes 1 second. It makes a massive difference in how this video performs in the YouTube algorithm. As you can tell, the background's different. This should be our set for the foreseeable future, so I really hope you like it. But with that said, let's start off with number 1, which is Jaylen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks. Jaylen so far this season is averaging 14.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and he is shooting 40% from 3, and he has a overall 68% true shooting percentage. Jaylen, I had a feeling, was going to be breaking out for the Hawks as soon as John Collins was moved, because frankly, he does a lot of similar things to John while being more competent in other areas where John was definitely lacking in a way that specifically hurt the scheme of the Atlanta Hawks. Mainly, Jaylen is just a way better three-point shooter. Not a super high volume guy, but I'm quite confident in his ability from behind the arc, and then he also makes for a devastating roller to the rim, someone that you can find in transition, someone who can, backdoor cut, overall a lob option. Not all that unique of a player necessarily, but every team in the league wants a player like Jaylen Johnson, that big forward who can just be a beast at the rim and really good from outside. Next up, we got Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets, who is doing what he was always meant to do, which is get buckets. So far, he's averaging 26 points per game on 58% true shooting. Now, his three-point percentage thus far has been fairly rough at just 31%, but he has managed to still be efficient because he is shooting extremely hot from mid-range, shooting 55% from 10 to 16 feet, and that's where he's getting a lot of his offense, that and just slashing to the basket. His all-around game still leaves room to be desired. His defense has improved, but it's still not great. But at least in terms of just actually getting points on the board, there's not a lot of better options than Cam Thomas. And for the Brooklyn Nets, they finally reached a point where they were like, look, we need somebody to be an offensive player. We don't have Kevin Durant, Kyrie, or James Harden anymore, so Cam Thomas, your opportunity is here, and he has been taking that opportunity. If he continues to be a solid enough defender, there will still be issues with his lack of playmaking and all that, but ultimately, this game's about scoring points, and Cam Thomas does that. The biggest breakout thus far, in my opinion, has been Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors. Scotty has had a very weird career thus far because he started out in his rookie year and was literally getting Giannis comparisons, and then year 2, he didn't quite live up to that, to say the least, and a lot of people turned on him, especially a lot of people within Toronto's fan base, really just deciding that this dude is not it, and not all that great or special of a young talent, actually. However, so far this season, he is proving those doubters wrong and then some. He is averaging 22.6 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and has a 61% true shooting percentage. And honestly, most important, because this has opened up everything else for Scotty, he is shooting 42% from 3 on 5.4 attempts a night. That has been the big problem because Pascal Siakam, while he can shoot threes, is definitely pretty inconsistent from out there. Jakob Poeltl, who was an addition last season, a non-shooter entirely. Dennis Schroeder's not even all that great of a shooter. Really, the only good shooter in Toronto's lineups would be OG or Gary Trent Jr. So because of that, having Scotty be an excellent outside threat really opens everything up for Toronto and really opens things up for Scotty specifically. Very versatile forward, can kind of do a little bit of everything, especially a really good playmaker for such a big dude. I think he has a pretty bright future in the NBA, and I'm glad that he, the hype about his potential didn't end up just being complete bullshit. Next up is maybe my favorite player on this list, which is Jaylen Duren, who is averaging 14 points, 11.5 rebounds, almost 3 assists per game as a center, and he has a 67% true shooting percentage. The main thing that I really want to highlight about Duren isn't any of these stats, but the fact that he is putting up these stats at the age of 19. The dude is already one of the better centers in the NBA, and he is just getting started. I've been saying time and time again for the Detroit Pistons that it is silly how much they're wasting their time on mainly James Wiseman and partially Marvin Bagley and acting like they're not quite sure who the center of this team is. It is Jaylen Duren. It is not even close, and it looks like he is finally proving that to an undeniable degree, so we don't have to see any of this James Wiseman bullshit anymore. Kelly Oubre of the Philadelphia 76ers is not someone that I expected to be on this list. Obviously, this list is trending young because that's typically when players break out, and while Kelly has had good moments in his career, past few seasons, especially in Charlotte, have not been his best showing, not really contributing to winning basketball. And I don't just mean that in the sense of like I'm blaming him for Charlotte's lack of success, but rather that the environment cultivated in Charlotte just made it to where he was like, screw it, I'm gonna get my numbers, but not necessarily play the most efficient. And with what I saw from Kelly there, what I saw from him in Golden State before Charlotte, I was just pretty confident that Kelly Oubre was gonna be out of the league fairly soon, if, you know, maybe as like a 12th man on a team. However, he has been the 6th man for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he has been awesome for them. He is averaging 21 points a game. He's shooting 45% from 3. He overall has a 67% true shooting percentage, and mind you, that true shooting percentage is 11% better than the best that he has posted in his career, and 15% better than what it was for the Charlotte Hornets. So efficiency-wise, he's knocking out of the park. Honestly, he's less of an emphasis in the offense, which has made him so much more efficient while allowing him to average more points per game. I definitely may have given him a little bit too much of a knock for how he played in Charlotte, because who wasn't playing selfishly in Charlotte? But yeah, this seems like the right place for him, and I think he's definitely going to turn his career around in Philadelphia. The only player that could compete for Jaylen Duren as my favorite on this list is Shaden Sharp, who is averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 38% from 3 on 6.5 attempts a night, and he has an overall 58% true shooting percentage. Sharp is someone who just had all the tools to be good, a really nice looking jump shot, a really fluid jump shot, and good size, pretty strong, and super bouncy. He is pretty much the complete package in terms of just scoring the ball from a guard while not having the strongest handle in the world. He really play finishes super well, and he's done a good job of attacking off of the catch and things like that. He's good. I don't know if he's going to average 20 for the year, especially because Anthony Simons has missed a good amount of time, but at the very least, he looks like he's an improved player by a pretty significant degree. Next, I'm going to highlight 2 role-playing forwards who I think haven't necessarily quite met the threshold of a breakout, but like, they're definitely playing really well, and I wanted to give them some credit. First one is Grant Williams for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I thought Grant was a really nice signing for them. However, I didn't expect it to work out to quite the degree that it has thus far. Grant is averaging 15.5 points, 5 rebounds. He has a 77% true shooting percentage, and he is shooting 56% from 3 on 6.8 attempts. Obviously, that percentage is not necessarily going to maintain itself, and that can be the case for a lot of these guys. I'm not expecting their numbers to be quite as impressive if we fast forward a few weeks, but he's definitely fit into a very important role for Dallas, and it looks like he could not be in a more perfect location to make him the best role player that he can possibly be. PJ Washington in Charlotte is averaging 18.5 points and shooting 40% from 3 with an overall 61% true shooting percentage. Honestly, he's not doing all that much that he hasn't done before. He's just doing more of it. PJ is someone that I have highlighted as fairly underrated and didn't really understand why he was struggling to get paid as much as he was in this previous offseason. Not a lot of interest from other NBA teams, and the Charlotte Hornets ended up giving him a fairly low amount of money for what I think he's truly worth. I think he got about 15 a year, and I think he's more like a 20, 22 type of guy. But yeah, he has fit in really well with Charlotte, and he's good. He's just a good role player, man. But last, the player that I think has broken out, maybe not the most, but like it's either him or Scotty Barnes, but I wanted to leave this guy last. Tyrese Maxiell of the Philadelphia 76ers. Tyrese is averaging 26 points per game, almost 7 assists. He has a 64% true shooting percentage, and he's shooting 47% from 3 on nearly 7 attempts per game. Tyrese Maxiell has been so good that it literally looks like the Sixers are going to be a better team with him in a more prominent role rather than him and James Harden. He's only building upon what he's already done before, but on top of that, his playmaking looks significantly better than it ever has before. He's even hitting shots at a higher rate than he has before. Again, some of the stuff will die down a little bit, but I think Tyrese Maxiell is going to be a first-time All-Star. I think he's easily the most likely to be an All-Star out of this group here. He's just very excellent for Philadelphia. I'm very excited for seeing his development from here. He's been one of my favorite players in the league and easily my favorite player on the Sixers. So I've wanted to see him get this opportunity. James Harden being gone means he has this opportunity. Now you're surrounding him with like 3-point shooters and role players that were previously maybe guys who weren't, NBA level. So if anything, he should be improving from here. I'm very happy for Tyrese Maxiell and very happy for all of these guys because a lot of the players on this list are players that I have been waiting to see break out. And as I mentioned in the intro, it really feels like we're getting a lot of breakout seasons thus far. I realize that can partially be influenced by it being the start of the season, but not only have these guys had really good numbers, but they have, for the most part, changed aspect of their games to make them more effective. Tyrese a better playmaker, Scotty Barnes a better 3-point shooter, Cam Thomas a better defender. Some of them, it's just like Jaylen Johnson and Jaylen Duren getting more opportunity, but as a whole, these guys are getting better and it's good to see. I always enjoy seeing that. With that said, shout out to Rudy for editing this video, but that is it. Goodbye.